Salutations and welcome to the Sunflower Bee channel. I am B, and in today's video we will be talking about confirmation bias. Now, we had already filmed another video talking about the exact same thing, but through the lens of Amy Coney Barrett and why certain people dislike her and why others completely adore her. Well, in today's video, we'll still be talking about the same thing, but we will be looking at the link between intelligence and
cognitive biases.
Yeah, and confirmation bias, to be exact. And I guess yesterday, when I was editing the video, I realized that I had asked you what you believe confirmation bias is, but we hadn't actually read the definition of what you would see if you Google confirmation bias. So it is just a tendency to search or to favor information in a way that confirms or supports a prior belief and value. It is a cognitive bias. So in essence, if you were brought up in a certain household and your parents held ideologies that you in turn accepted, you would as you were growing up, you would favor information that fit into that ideology. And not only would you search and favor those informations, those evidences, but you would also try to morph certain information, evidences, so that it would fit into your puzzle. And as you said before, it's like trying to fit a
square peg in a round hole for the sake of building your little intellectual tower.
But yeah, so today in the shower I was researching confirmation bias, and I fell upon a video of a lady from Cincinnati college or university, and she was talking about how they did a study, and they found out that the most intelligent people are actually more likely to have confirmation bias.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
On certain topics, because so when having intelligence, if you're talking to someone else, you can morph the information that you're hearing and stuff, and you can find a way for it to fit into your ideology, even though it could contradict itself. And so as I was watching that, I remember when we were walking, we were actually talking about that, how most smart people, average smart people, are conformists.
Yeah, the above average IQ people are more likely to conform with the prevailing ideology of society for whatever reason.
Yeah. So you and I, and anyone that is a midwit, like you said, would more likely just accept the status quo, right?
Yeah.
And it makes sense if you think about it, or if you look at it through that lens, right? But then you kind of look back at very geniuses, very smart people who always tried to kind of step out of the what's it called, the box, and to push the limits when it came to societal norms and stuff, and would kind of make their own ideologies in essence.
Yeah, they'll just break from the pact and start a new trend, and then trickle, and that's the new future.
Exactly. So kind of like Elon Musk, the dude is just
he seems crazy.
He seems kind of crazy, but kind of I'm sure Einstein would have been like that too.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine being in Germany when young Albert Einstein was telling you, no, you don't understand. Energy is really going to be mass if you just slow it down a little. And it's if you slow down energy, what are you talking about?
Or even during the Greek, ancient Greece, if what's his name, Democritus, I think, and Luke, I forget their actual names, but if they were telling me, you know what you see, it's actually made of little atoms coming from atoms, and that you can't really cut them, and even if you had the smallest particle, you couldn't split them because they were indivisible. I would have been like, what the heck? No.
Yeah, they just sound as crazy as Heraclitus saying everything's fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Equally
right?
crazy.
Equally crazy. So I kind of like thought about it, and then I talked to you, and I was like, okay, maybe I should look it up on Google, and that's what we did. We looked it up, and we actually found out that I think most studies would actually disagree. Like, most people are just prone to confirmation bias.
Yeah, it's either unlinked or the unintuitive smart people are more affected by the bias.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Which, I don't know how you interpreted it, but maybe you could, like, explain how.
So we read about 2 studies where they discussed how they presented a biased towards one side of a controversial issue, biased towards another side, and then options that were in the middle. And what they found was that the in the middle studies, nobody likes them. Nobody likes balanced reporting, which is why if you look on the news is how the news is. Mm-hmm. And then people dislike less for whatever reason, but still dislike the opposing viewpoint. And then they always like the one they agree with.
Yeah.
Regardless of how obviously fallacious and unbalanced it is.
And that makes complete sense because, like, try to think about all the times that you saw something that completely agreed with what your thought belief was. You in a way, like, I don't really know how to describe it, but when I'm talking to someone and I'm like iffy about so for example, I'll just like anecdote. Once I was talking to a girl that I knew from Mauritius, and she just looked like the stereotypical not me girl, right? So I'm not gonna state my political values, beliefs and stuff, and even religious ones, but she just didn't fit into what I think someone like me would be, right?
Yeah.
She was out there and stuff, and we were talking, and I realized that we had a lot in common when it came to belief systems, values, political ideologies, and such on. And I just had this, like, warm feeling, like, I just found a friend. And that's what I even feel whenever I watch a video or watch someone that completely agrees with me on YouTube. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not alone. I actually have people that think like me. That's amazing, right? But then on the opposite side, when you're watching a video where someone is basically like bashing everything you believe in, there's like sometimes there's like this fear, anger ball of something,
just horrible,
and you want to reply to them, like put your fist in the iPad or the screen and be like, hey, listen. But at least in my in regards to me, most people disagree with me because I'm kind of like this weird, like, I'm not like to this side and I'm not to this side, and I have fun entertaining different values, beliefs and stuff.
Kind of eclectic.
Very eclectic even. And I'm sure you have it a bit less because I think you're like a stereotypical white Anglo-Saxon Christian.
How dare you?
Yeah. When I'm mixed, I'm bilingual, I really don't feel I don't really belong anywhere else. Like this weird in the middle type of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't normally find people like me that think like me. And when I do, it's amazing. And I think that's kind of the reason why we're so prone to be like conformism, because you have this like warm feeling when you find someone.
Yeah, but so I mean I think you get that warm feeling to motivate confirmation bias.
Yeah.
That's not.
Oh yeah.
Why you don't have confirmation bias to give you the warm feeling. You get you're trained to get confirmation bias to get that warm feeling. And when I think about these things, it's weird because I'm not actually very married to this view, but I always tend to analyze them through like anthropology and evolutionary psychology, which I'm not very learned on. But I wonder, why would a caveman have confirmation bias?
Whoa.
And it's because he wouldn't want to be different from his tribe,
exactly.
right?
It's obvious, I think. It's just tribal
It's
instinct,
outdated.
kind of. Maybe not instinct. What do you mean outdated?
No, well, I don't think it's a particularly useful mental trait to have these days.
Well, I think it isn't because we don't really have tribes, and that we talked about that yesterday as well. But I kind of ended the video abruptly. But it's, well, in theory, I believe that it's only because we don't really belong to a tribe fully.
Yeah. We partially belong to
many tribes, and I guess it's kind of hard to feel like you fully belong.
Yeah, so it's very easy, and it's very easy. I don't know if you experience this when you find someone who shares like 80% of your ideas and views and demeanor. You assume they hold the last 20, and they often don't.
But don't you feel as though you sometimes just dismiss it?
Sometimes I dismiss it. I'm like, oh, they're crazy and illogical for that last bit.
Yeah.
But I also find myself getting embarrassing myself in situations like this happens to me often at church, where I find out someone, like, they go to church with me. Of course they agree with me on stuff, and then I'll like accidentally talk too much about politics, and they'll be visibly uncomfortable. And I'm like, oh yeah, you can believe the same thing about God or whatever you believe in without thinking the same about income tax rate. To use like a random non-polarizing issue.
I think that's happened to me a lot of the times as well. And I think that when we first talked, we had that. But I think it's also easy nowadays to know who thinks like what, you know? Like, sometimes I feel as though I can walk on the street and just by the outfits you wear or the color of your hair, I can determine whether you believe you have the same values as me or not.
In America, it's I think you've never even been there, but you'd have a very easy time because people in America, it's like almost two parallel cultures where you could just look at someone and you're like, oh, they're wearing that brand, they're that body type, right? And it's just...
Well, and I think that's another issue. Identity politics, I guess, is basically centered around that. It's
definitely playing off it entirely.
100%. Because, like, for example, how can I... So, a liberal person would prefer going to liberal restaurants. So
that's happening now in Portland. Because Yelp has started putting... Basically, they put BLM friendly or something, or mask friendly, and they basically it's just some little label that tells you one isolated thing, but because of that known network of tribal stereotypes, you know that restaurant that's flagged with that is conservative. And then they boycott it because they know that the owners think that way, not this way.
Which I think is like. And it will become a new tactic when it comes to business. The example for the next businesses.
The Paragon example.
The Paragon example would be Chick-fil-A.
Oh yeah, Chick-fil-A is the demographic, German original. Perfect example because it's just historically it's catered very much to white evangelicals.
Yeah, and that's gonna happen more and more. The ones that kind of appeared to be apolitical, didn't really hold any values, will start to do that. And a few businesses that we know and love will find themselves bankrupt, I think.
Yeah, I know an example of one that got outed politically and then immediately started doing this. In-N-Out Burger was totally apolitical in 2015. But then the owner got outed as a conservative, and then it became conservative to go to In-N-Out Burger, and
now what?
They're still doing fine. I mean, they make good burgers, and lots of people don't. I
mean, look at Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A has their own kind of buyers nowadays because of the fact that they're kind of unashamed. About it, which I think a lot of conservatives are. I think in a few months, if Donald Trump is reelected, a lot of them will be unashamed to be Donald Trump supporters, even though right now, like, ask a Donald Trump supporter if he or she is a Donald Trump supporter, and most of the time they'll be like, I don't like him, but which I think will change with the climate that we're in.
But I think it could go the reverse if Biden wins, because I think, regardless of your views, I think Democrats have a bit of social dominance in most of the U.S., where it's cooler to be a Democrat.
Yeah.
And if the Democrats come back into power, I think it's going to be like under Obama, where Republicans kind of slunk back into the darkness.
Yeah. I mean, when we were talking about tribes, though, we kind of went through the route that we took right now, where we're talking about Chick-fil-A and stuff. But in essence, I guess belonging to a tribe is something that we will never be able to get rid of. Despite, like, even though you hear celebrities say, I don't have a label, don't label me, there is always going to be a label, and you will always want to belong somewhere.
It's funny, though, how minor of things people will get tribal over. Like, a mundane example is in Europe, they're tribal about soccer, football.
Oh, yeah.
And football can be political. Mm-hmm. There'll be a conservative team, a leftist team. I know in Britain, like, Gaelic is left wing and they're pro, like, Scottish independence and stuff. And that's just like, if to say you support that team is a political statement, it is a tribal statement.
Yeah.
And that's it's a sports team, and it's less local there. Like in America, sports tend to be like, I'm a Seahawks fan because I am from the Seattle metropolitan area. It's not like, oh, I am a Yankees fan because I'm a conservative. Like, that's
kind of play a part in our confirmation bias.
Oh, a huge part.
Like 100%. So imagine having two people telling you, like, trying to lure you into their side. You have this billionaire person. Okay, maybe billionaire is not a good idea because Donald Trump's a billionaire. But you have this wealthy person, this adored person, admired by many, on your TV screen. So much money that they don't even know what to do with it. Versus this country folk out in the ranch telling you to vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Who are you going to vote for? Like, just think about it.
Yeah, if all you know is that silly ranchers vote for Trump and rich billionaire votes for Biden, you'll be like, I want to be like rich billionaire. I want to be a rich billionaire. Yeah.
And that's the authoritative... is it authoritative or
or appeal to authority?
Yeah, no, I was looking for another one. But yeah, it's this appeal to authority, and it's also... So, like, even why did Billie Eilish have to do with the DMC?
Yeah, no, I don't understand, like, what the connection is. Really?
There is no connection. The thing is, you're just finding a few figures that the youngsters like. You're gonna tell them to vote for Joe Biden.
The Rock.
And then what do youngsters do? Because they're young. They vote for Joe Biden.
Well, they don't really vote, young people.
They don't vote, but the ones that do.
They do vote Biden.
Yeah. But you do that with any conservative and they won't. Like, imagine a country start telling you to vote for Trump.
Yeah, I can't imagine Alan Jackson be like, well, thank you for listening to Margaritaville.
Yeah.
Go vote for Donald Trump. Y'all come back now, you hear?
Yeah.
Right? Like, could you imagine? No, you can't.
No,
that's ridiculous.
It just doesn't make sense. And it also doesn't go with the culture, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, it almost feels as though there's, like, two different cultures.
Absolutely,
Yeah. And it's, I mean, some would say that they like that. Did you just yawn? Okay, then I'll have to edit that. No, because when he yawns, he goes... Anyways, but yeah. Whenever we make these videos, we always kind of go into other routes and talk about other things. But that's kind of like... We're showing you how
Did I yawn?
Yeah. When we make these videos, we always find a way to talk about other things and we kind of always find like things that don't actually fit into our YouTube titles or our video idea. But it's kind of showing of how just confirmation bias is just everywhere. And you can find it in Hollywood, you can find it even